I think on the student end, they really loves doing that work and telling them the responses we've received is giving them that instant satisfaction. Like, okay, what we're doing is great. They like this. Let's keep thanking people in this way.
Welcome to the EverTrue Innovators podcast, where we meet the innovative voices behind the ideas moving fundraising forward. Hello, and welcome to the Innovators podcast, brought to you by the one and only EverTrue. I'm joined by my intrepid co-hosts, Madeline Turner and Hannah Davis, and I'm kicking things off with a question for the group. What happens when you hand creative reins over to the students?
If you're like most teams, probably mild panic.
And if you're the team at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, your stewardship videos start feeling less like a thank you note and more like an episode of The Office.
Exactly. Student-led creativity, pop culture inspiration, and authentic storytelling drove standout engagement and 68% open rates.
Which is really kind of wild.
Let's talk about how the winners of the Best Video Stewardship campaign use student-led video to completely rethink stewardship and drive engagement that's nearly double the industry average.
Without further ado, I think we should kick off our conversation. I would love if you could tell us about yourselves, your roles, and your team at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and kind of a bit about top level overview of this campaign, and then we can dive into kind of more of the specifics.
I think I'm going to let Tanya go first.
Okay. So Tanya Patterson, I am the director of annual giving and fiscal oversight at the university. I've been here officially, I'm in my 26th year. 24 of that is focused in fundraising and annual giving in particular. I think full disclosure, I had nothing to do with any of this aside from Alexa saying, hey, we want to do this. I'm like, okay, go for it. So she can kind of give you the overview. So our team is Alexa and I, and then we have a group of five students who help and do all the recording and do all the things. And then we have a volunteer group that's kind of a part of our division as well, our student giving committee. So they help with some of the recording and things. So that's really my my part. Was Alexa said, I want to try this. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And that's where we are. So.
Yeah, Tanya's been great and supportive. So I figured I'd let her go first because she oversees all of us in these projects. And I always ask her approval before I send anything out. I know she trusts me, but Tanya has been here for so long. She has so much institutional wisdom. And so she's really the glue that keeps our division truly together. My name's Alexa Zazak. I know it doesn't look like that. My last name spelled with a C. It sounds like a Z. But I've actually been working in annual giving since I was a freshman at IUP. So I came to IUP in fall of 2017, and then I started working at the Phone-a-thon. So I was a student caller the entire time during my undergrad. I did graduate with my bachelor's in 2021. So right when all the pandemic stuff was lifting. So we didn't have Phone-a-thon for my senior year because of so many restrictions. But Tanya had asked me to come back after I told her, hey, I'm staying because I'm getting my master's in school counseling. She's like, okay, you want to come back and help us get the Phone-a-thon back up and running? And I said, absolutely. It was my first job. My absolute favorite job. She had asked me to come back. I said, yes, absolutely. It was my first job, my absolute favorite job. I will absolutely come back. So I came back. We had a very small staff of students. And then I think it was like 3 years ago now, our division came to the decision that the Phone-a-thon really wasn't effective anymore for the money that we were putting into it. So we switched into using ThankView and having our students be like our campus creators. So we started off that way with just very scripted individual one-on-one videos that the students were saying the same thing every single time. And the script wasn't really changing much because you can only say thank you in so many ways before you get crazy creative. So they did these one-on-ones and they're really just going to the same people because a lot of our annual donors just roll over year after year. A lot of them are monthly recurring donations. So they're getting the same scripted video from different students, but the same video. So my students and I, in the beginning of this year, so August 2025, we had talked and I was like, how do you want to do things differently? Because they were bored. They were like, this is not working for us. It's boring sitting in front of a computer. I was like, okay, let's do something different. So that's kind of like how I came from a freshman phone-a-thon caller all the way up. And while I was in my master's program, I got the job of the annual giving coordinator. And I've been with IEP technically as a staff member for about 3.5 years now. So it's been good. It's been pleasant. I enjoy working with my students and they're very creative.
Well, let's talk about the creativity piece because I know that this campaign started as more than just a thank you email.
Mhm.
It was, I believe, a way for you all to reconnect and boost morale during a time of change on campus. So, can you take us back to that time? What was happening internally, and why did this feel like the right idea at the right time?
So there was a lot of changes. We had welcomed a new VP just about almost 2 years ago now. And she has been great implementing a lot of changes to change the way that we do things, to be more effective in our fundraising efforts and our stewardship efforts. And my students, again, they were just like, we need to do something different. Because they're also, some of them are previous phone-a-thon callers, so they're so used to that instant gratification. Someone's enjoying this phone call, we get a pledge or a gift. They don't get that with the one-on-one videos. So we had talked and we were like, what can we do to make this fun? And then I saw actually on the ThankView EverTrue website, there was like one Ferris Bueller inspired video that
Yeah.
somebody did. And I showed it to them and I was like, what do you guys think? They're like, we could absolutely like take that and run with it. So we had come up with a million themes for all of the months of the fiscal year. And they really like, I gave my ideas and they're like, no, that's not a good idea. I was like, okay, I trust you guys. I know what's fun for you guys. And so they really they picked it up and they ran with it. And they make all the scripts and everything. So they were very, very eager for a change, especially in that direction.
I, I think the thing that I would add on why we felt this was the time to try to reconnect with our internal faculty and staff is over the last 4.5 to 5 years, we have drastically cut our staff across the entire
Mhm.
university. Our division alone has been cut in more than half of what it used to be because of staffing structures and budget and things like that. We used to be a university of 14 to 15,000 students, and we were still staffed like that. And now we're a university of about 9,000 students, which is where we're kind of right sized. So we had to eliminate a lot of programs, change a lot of programs, eliminate a lot of positions. A lot of good people lost their jobs just because we couldn't sustain it. So we've spent the last several years trying to figure out. We have done a structure for years with we call it our Hawks Helping Hawks, where we have people within campus who are volunteers to go and ask their peers to make a gift during our 3 week drive. And we realized that that wasn't working because even though those volunteers were still wanted to be included in what they didn't feel comfortable going to people who had just lost three
Mhm.
quarters of their department and are now in a brand new department and things like that. So we wanted to try to take it a different way, and most of our faculty and staff still really connect with our students and what our students do. They're not so sure about administration or us anymore, but if you can put a student in front of them and the student will kind of say thank you, tell their story, they're all about it. So that was kind of one of the things because we're kind of coming out of that now. We've kind of hit where we think we're going to be, we're out of the budget crisis, and things like that. And we've made hopefully all of the adjustments we need to make as far as staffing. So we thought now's the time to kind of like slowly build back up. So this was a way that we thought, well, that, something special to them and to recognize the work that they do, but in a fun way and not just say, hey, thanks for, you know, cleaning up and thanks for all of the things that you would normally say. We just wanted something a little more fun that kind of reflects more of what our students are and, what we hope even though there are days our jobs drive us crazy, we still have fun. And we wanted to remind people of that the reason that we're here is to support our students. And even though the last several years have been crazy, we're still here to support our students. So
Yeah, Madeline, I'm going to jump around in our questions a little
great.
bit because I think that two parts of this. So first, I would love to dive in a little bit more about the audience of this campaign, and elaborate a little bit more on what you were just sharing. And then I want to go into the student focus of it as well. So, obviously, the audience has a strong connection to the institution by being employees and staff members. Um, you talked about navigating kind of maybe some rockier, maybe sentiments, I guess, throughout that period of transition. And kind of, I'm thinking of other schools that may have this internal audience, and are having a hard time engaging them, and likely are also going through a lot of the transition that you just spoke about. So, um, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you think made this particular campaign stand out to that audience, and maybe any takeaways or what others could learn from how you approached it, um, when you were rolling it out internally?
So I think with this one, it was the first email or stewardship piece that they had received of this kind, unless they're like, so we sent this out, I think November 2025. So some of them will have received like our other stewardship campaigns, but this one was specifically targeting our faculty, staff, and other administrators here. So they're just used to like an email from the Office of Annual Giving or Tanya saying thank you for making your gift. Tanya always sends a personal video or personal email. But this time we were like, actually it was Tanya's idea. She's like, I think we need to like do something a little more creative for our faculty and staff and all IEP employees that make gifts to support students. Um, so I think it was one, I think they're pretty receptive to any emails that come from the Office of Annual Giving. But I think it was more like piquing their curiosity of what is this? Why did they send me this video? Which increased like our open rates and our click-through rates. And we got a lot of positive feedback from people that received it. So I don't know, Tanya, do you want to add anything to that?
I think the only thing I would say is with this group, we have tried over the years, like I said, I've been here for a long time. We have really tried to make it so that the person who mows the grass understands that they are just as much a part of the team as our president. And so we have made a very concerted effort as a university to mention stories of, there's one that Dr. Driscoll has told for the last 2 or 3 years. There was a young lady who was using crutches trying to get into one of our buildings, and one of our groundskeepers saw her, put down what he was doing, walked over, helped her, got her to her classroom, things like. So we've tried and made a very concerted effort to make everyone feel like, even though they're not the ones getting the checks, they're not the ones talking to theirs. Every single person who works at IP has a part to play in our students' success and our success. And I think this was just a way of getting them from the office perspective to see that you may never touch that check and you may never see that donor, but somewhere along the way, you've influenced someone who's influenced someone who will then make a gift. So I think we just wanted something a little different that is not just the standard, hey, thank you so much for everything that you do every day. I feel like sometimes it's a broken record from our end to say, like, I know that you don't see the donor and you're, you know, typing in your office and making appointments for the deans and doing all of the things that you do, but everything that you do every day continues to support our students and continues to support IUP. And we wanted to give them a little bit of a different, like, hey, look at it from this perspective, because I can say it until I'm blue in the face. But I think when the students really kind of did it from that way, and The Office is a show that most everyone can interact, can understand, even if they've never watched it a lot, but they at least get the point of, oh my gosh, yeah, like I answer the phone, but I still have a part in that. And that's something that we've always tried, even when we ran a phone-a-thon, that was part of the training that we always did with our students is you may have a phone conversation with someone. It may be a great call. You may not get a gift, but when they get that direct mail piece in 2 months, they're going to be like, oh, I had a really nice call with that student. Let me make a gift. Or they're going to get an event invitation and be like, oh, I had a really nice call. Let me. So even though you're not seeing it immediately, or you may never see it that way, you're still part of what makes it work. And that's what we wanted them to see was, it's not just us in advancement who are raising the money and making it. Everything that they do every day is what gets us where we are. So I think we've really tried, especially with all of the layoffs and all of the furloughs and all of the things we've had to do to make everyone understand that, everyone at IEP is important no matter what the role that they play is.
Yeah,
I
and I
think
think
this one worked really well because it was more so of an actions speak louder than words. We can tell them
Yes.
over and over again. but the students really like acting those things out, gave them like a visual understanding.
And I think y'all struck a really nice balance between having fun with it, acting through scenarios that made light of the day-to-day job, but then panning to the interview style with each of the students, and they got to be authentic about how appreciative they are of the work that, may seem like it goes unappreciated or unseen, but that it's changing a student's experience on campus and how important that is. So, well done. The results of this too were also impressive. So I think that the open rate was like almost 69% with almost 29% click rate. And it sounds like plenty of positive feedback from staff, but I know that only tells like a piece of the story. So, any reflections or moments that made either of you realize that this had truly resonated with staff, with your audience, and that it was something that y'all would continue to iterate on and do again?
I think for me, it would be the conversations that I had kind of like off the cuff, having a conversation. There was one of our facilities gentlemen who I've known for years, has been here for a long time, has never made a gift. And came up to me. I was standing in our Oak Grove, which is the area right outside of our office, looking at something. And he's like, "Hey." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Was that video from your office?" He's like, "I think it was." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "It made me really stop and think about the impact I have here." He's like, "I feel like I'm unseen and I feel like what I do doesn't matter." He's like, "But seeing that, he's like, that really made a difference to me." And he's like, "It really made me think about, what I have given." He's like, "My kids went to school here for free and I feel like I've taken a lot, but this let me know that I've also given something." So I think it was those kind of conversations. There were several of those. That's just one that comes to mind. And the people who support all the time, but just said like, "Hey, that was really cool. And I really liked it. And it really made me smile and think about the good work that we do here." So I was like, "Okay, great. We're going the right direction."
I think Tanya pretty much covered it. We've had a lot of responses like that, and a lot of people know who Tanya is, and so a lot of those responses just go directly to her, and I hear about them from her, just because I'm still not a very well-known face around here. But I think it speaks to that story alone speaks to the impact that it had. And then I think on the student end, they really loves doing that work and telling them the responses we've received is giving them that instant satisfaction. Like, okay, what we're doing is great. They like this. Let's keep thanking people in this way, whether it's our faculty and staff or donors, people that come to events, etc. So it's been rewarding on both ends.
And I think
Yeah.
the other thing for our students, what it adds for them, or what I hope that it's adding for them, is they'll understand as they graduate and go out into the world what it took to run IEP and what it
Mhm.
took to they'll have that appreciation that I think a lot of students don't necessarily get. We're doing a great job with student philanthropy and kind of encourage, but these students are seeing it from the ground up because they're seeing everything that goes into making one of those campaigns and getting the message out and then hearing the responses. And I think the other thing that is kind of telling for us is yesterday was just our day of giving. And in yesterday alone, we had over $6,000 just from internal faculty and staff gifts.
Wow.
We saw an increase this year in our payroll deduction gifts, people wanting to increase their payroll deduction. So I think all of that, with the positive way that we're going with things, I think all of that is, while not directly, I think that has a good part to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. To the student philanthropy piece, we hear that a lot from several of the institutions that we work with and I felt this as well when I was working in annual giving. It's always how do you educate students while they're students and want to still stay connected and understand the power of philanthropy and how it does impact them, or in this case, which I think is really unique, giving them that front row seat into you likely don't think about all of the staff members that keep this institution running in the way that you get to experience every day. And this is just a way to understand that appreciation and hopefully inspire them to give back. So that it's I was thinking that, when I was first learning about this entire campaign too, of that I was hoping that that was maybe one of the other things that you saw as a success, because I think that it's always a tough code to crack of how to get students engaged and keep them engaged and everything. And on that note, students were obviously such a huge part of this entire um, campaign, really helping to not just execute but create it. Can you talk a little bit about how that collaboration worked and how, if you were to be giving advice to others who are trying to activate their students in this way, kind of what you would tell them of how to engage them in a very proactive way that's also, I think, giving them some real ownership of campaigns and work experience before they head off postgraduate.
I think for us, like I said, they were kind of bored with the work that they were doing. They were so used to those engaging conversations with some of our ex-phone callers. So that I talked to them beginning of the school year because we had some time, and I was like, what can we do differently? What ideas do you guys have? And then they said they weren't sure. And quite honestly, we scrolled through your like features page. I forget exactly what it was, to get some ideas for how we could change the way that we do these videos. So for just overall, for all of the stewardship campaigns that we do, we had talked about how we could change that, be more creative, do something that's more engaging for them, with the minimal resources that we have in this office. So they were like, we watched that one Ferris Bueller themed video, and they were like, let's do something like that. That would be more fun to do. And I feel, and they were like, it feels more like we're putting more of ourselves into it. We're putting more effort into it than reading a script off of a screen. So I was like, okay, let's run with it. Come up with an idea or three for every month during the academic year, and then we'll figure out what to do over the summer because they're not here in the summer.
Mm.
So they were like, okay, let's go with it. And then so we had a million ideas for what to do during the academic year. And then Tanya asked us, I think it was like early October, and she's like, what do you like? I think we need to thank our faculty and staff in a different way. We need to do something special for them. And I was like, oh, absolutely. So I brought that idea to our students. We all had a meeting, and I was like, come on, I don't want to help you out with this one. I want you entirely to create this one because you're the ones that benefit from all of the work the faculty and staff do. Because me and Tanya, we have a different point of view. You're students, like we want it to come from you. So they were like, okay. And so they sat down, and then probably 15 minutes later, they're just down the hall from us. 15 minutes later, they all came to my office. They're like, okay, so picture this. All five of them are standing in my office. Picture this. We do an office themed video. And they told me, like, we're going to have somebody be a coach, somebody be a groundskeeper, someone maybe be a professor. Like, they laid it all out for me without a script. They just had a concept. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Do it. And they did fantastic. And they created the script on their own. I helped them record because it was a little, they all needed to be in it, you know? So I helped them record that one. And because we had like no props, they were very resourceful for what we have in our storage room. Like, I don't know if you noticed the like basketball in the coach themed one. It's a Christmas ornament. Like we needed to
I thought
have
it was a weighted ball. I couldn't, I knew
no,
the
it was
size
a
looked off.
glittery pink Christmas ornament. But they did great with it, and they did go in with a script. And then once we got out there, they were like, "We're not doing the script," and they improvised like probably 80% of that video.
Wow.
So and because they just like to change things on the fly because they're like, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel authentic. So they just improvisation feels more authentic than something scripted. So they did fantastic with it. And I showed them the end product, and they were very pleased with themselves. Um, Even with like the sit down confessional type scenes, they were like, okay, you need to sit this way or you need to lean forward, very like directive with each other. So they're really great at collaborating. And they ask me, they're like, okay, what do you think? I'm like, I'm not going to give you direction. This is fully student created, fully student produced. I'm here to just watch you guys, make sure you're saying what you need to say if there are specific pieces of language that we would like them to include, and make sure every scene is filmed. And they were like, okay. And they just keep asking me questions. I'm like, don't ask each other. Don't ask me. I will let you know if it's like a copyright issue or if we need to word things a little differently. But they had a blast with that one.
For on the creative piece or doing something different, I think you mentioned that maybe the students themselves were bored or uninspired with the same type of video over and over again, or maybe even your audience, used to the same type of generic thank you
Yeah.
email. What would you say to teams who want to do something different or more creative, but worry that it won't be taken seriously or that it won't work? Based on your experience, what would you tell them about trusting students or trying new ideas, and taking some creative risks?
I think that on trying new ideas, just take the risk. As long as you're not like like offending anybody, if it's not going to cause any type of harm, it might be like, oh, that was weird, but like it's not hurting anyone. I think go for it. Like, because Tanya and I had talked about like this being something so different. Um, how do we think people are going to take it? And because I think it worked for us because it was very different. So
Mhm.
I think it's worth it to take those risks and listen to your students when they're like,
Absolutely.
this isn't working for us. Maybe it's not working for the people that we're sending these to. So I think we put a lot of trust in our students in our office. We treat them like they're staff members. We trust their feedback and their criticisms, and especially with me being kind of like spearheading our student giving program, I'm all about student feedback. You tell me what works, what doesn't work, what you think we might need to change, and we'll go for it. So I think Tanya and I have been graced with some flexibility as being the only two staff members at our office. And we work very well together, and we both have the same ideas of trusting our students. They're adults. They're learning to be professionals. We need to give them that trust in order for them to flourish. So I think that's my piece on that. Tanya, do you want to speak on that as
Yeah.
well?
I would say definitely trust your students. I would say there are very few times where we have to rein them in, but by rein them in, I mean, let's make sure we're saying this the right way
Mm.
so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. But other than
Mhm.
that, like let their creativity flow. And I know we put this in the thing they did, but one of the things we have always done is we have always not sent these to our president because we didn't want to inundate his mailbox. And it's always been our thing. Well, he snuck through on one of our earlier ones and wrote back to our vice president. Alexa was freaking out. She's like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "It's okay. Like, we'll just tell him it was an accident." And he's like, "These are great. Why am I not getting these all the time?" And now he has requested to get them every month because he is a monthly donor. And then, in addition to that, they have started sharing them with our council of trustees, and they have been so impressed that in when was that,
March,
Alexa? In
last
March,
month.
Alexa and two of our students were asked to present at our council of trustees about not just this, but like our student giving committee and this and like ThankView and how we use it. And our trustees, we're not allowed to send them anything because of it, but they see them at the meetings and they absolutely love them. And I think that's the part where you just have to kind of say sometimes, like sometimes accidents are good,
Mhm.
because Dr. Driscoll was absolutely like, yes, let me see these. And, we've gotten some great feedback from people who have been giving for years and years that are like, oh my gosh, these are so great. I look forward to these every month. They make my day when I get them. And I think, at some point, again, like Alex said, as long as you're not going to offend anyone, or we're always going to have little hiccups or little things that the kids will look back and say, oh, I wish we would have done this a little different. But hey, it worked, and it's what we needed. And I think at some point you just have to bite the bullet and try it, and have something ready in case it comes back with negative comments. And but
Move
we didn't
on from
encounter
there.
that. Yeah, exactly.
I think I just want to mention that it's also, I think, to take the risk as well. It's a learning opportunity and a networking opportunity for students.
Mm.
Our
Right.
students get recognized everywhere on campus now by faculty and staff and other people that receive these videos. We've recently done different events with some of our higher level donors. They're like, and I had my students attend this event, and they're like, I know that face. I receive videos from that person. So it's great for them to be networking with these people at in-person events and things like that. So it has I think you just take the jump and hope for the best because more good can come out of it than bad.
So, I mean, shout out to New Mexico State because they're the school that did the Ferris Bueller
Yes.
campaign. But I predict that next year we're going to be sitting and talking with a 2027 innovator who is saying that they were inspired by the Office campaign that you all
Oh, I
ran.
hope
So,
so.
yeah, you're paying it forward.
There's no doubt.
Continuing,
Yeah.
yeah, continuing to inspire creativity in the way that we think and appreciate our donors. So, thank you so much for sharing this experience and story with us and with the audience. And congratulations on being a 2026 innovator. Hannah, would you anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I just it's been really fun to hear the entire process behind this, and I'm feeling very inspired just to hear how you all approach this work, and so I'm excited to be able to share this story more broadly. And yeah, congratulations again, and thank you so much for doing this work that it makes me excited to come to work every day knowing that we're able to partner with organizations that are trying creative stuff out like this. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I know we're talking to you all and congratulating y'all, but pass the congratulations to the students because
Yes,
Yeah.
truly.
this
Yeah.
what an incredible opportunity for their resumes too. That their
Mhm.
campaign was selected as for an innovator award. So keep on innovating.